Hey, what is up guys, Saurav here, and in this video I'm going to talk about 6 mobile photography skills that will help you click even more appealing and a better picture in 2020. So stick to it, and by the end of the video I'm pretty sure you will learn something new. There would be some tricks you would be aware of, but some of them will actually gonna change the way you click photos from your mobile phone. So without wasting much time, let's get started. So this first tip is actually very simple and very basic, and I think a lot of people already know this. And I've seen people actually use it before clicking photos, but for all those people who still tend to forget this, the first step to click a photo from your lens, make sure that you actually wipe it before using it. Because whenever you're using your phone, you accidentally grip the lens and then it has a smudge on it, which prevents the photo to be of high resolution because the light is not directly entering it. It's passing through that smudge and oiliness, which is making the light distorted. In easy words, it's making your photo even more poor. So a good practice is keep a microfiber cloth. If you don't have this, you can use a t-shirt to wipe clearly the lens gently, and then you can take a photo, and that way the photo will actually improve in quality right then. Also make sure that you do the same thing on the front camera, because a lot of people actually do it on the back one, but when they're clicking selfies they kind of forget wiping that thing, and whenever you're calling on the phone, all the oil from your face actually is there on the front camera. So best practice, just wipe that camera and take a photo, and that way your photos will look great. Now for the second tip, it's for all those people who send a lot of photos on WhatsApp. And let me tell you this thing, that WhatsApp already has a camera inside in the chat option. So if you know, you can go there and you can tap that option and then you can click photos. But a downside of that is all the features of your camera are not present there. So only the basic photo clicking feature is there, which is why the photos that comes from that camera is not really good as the stock camera of your phone. So whenever you're clicking a photo of a page, assignment, document, or yourself to impress someone and then you have to send it to someone, make sure you open your phone's camera instead of WhatsApp camera to click that photo, and once you click that you can send it through WhatsApp in order to get a better quality photo. And if you're still concerned about that the quality gets reduced, you can always send the images as a document, and that will keep the original quality of the photo to the person who you are sending. Now for the third tip, it's about people who actually take a lot of photos at night using the night mode. So night mode was introduced in Google Camera initially, and then a lot of phones now adapted it. So downside of that is that whenever you're clicking a photo with night mode on, it adds a lot of grains and a lot of noise to the images. And the reason behind that is because of the image processing, it adds a lot of ISO to increase and brighten the photo. Now, a better way to do that in night mode is not to use night mode, but to use a pro or professional mode, which are there in a lot of phones or a lot of smart cameras. So if you're switching from a night mode to a pro mode, all you have to do is turn that option and then you're there. And in order to now take a better picture, you have to play around with the settings of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. And I'll tell you in a gist like what all these things are. So ISO is actually the artificial light. Whenever you are clicking a photo, the photo is being added with some artificial light by the processor of the camera. And that is why a lot of grains is also added and a lot of noise is also added, because the light that is being added to the photo is not natural. Now the second thing is called shutter speed. Shutter speed actually tells how much time will it take for the shutter to capture one frame. And the more it is, the more light will it let the light come inside. So suppose the shutter speed is at 2 minutes. So it will take 2 minutes to click one shot, and within that 2 minutes the shutter will be open. And so light will be entering through the camera lens and then to the sensor for exactly 2 minutes. That means a lot of light will actually come inside. So the higher the shutter speed, the more time it will take for a photo to be clicked, but that will also mean the more light will be entering inside. And these three things, if you change in the pro mode, you can get a better quality of a photo. Try to keep the ISO as low as possible and increase the shutter speed. But also you have to remember, if you're increasing the shutter speed, you need a stationary position, a tripod or something to keep your phone stable, because if you're shaking, the images will not be good. But if the phone is really steady, the images will be surprisingly good. and you can even click the photos of stars that I'm gonna show you here. Now, for all those people who use HDR a lot, next tip is very helpful. So people who don't know what HDR does is, it clicks a lot of photos, combines them together to make one good looking photo, and that photo will have even more vibrant and more colors to it. And the problem here, what people do is, when they turn the HDR on, they keep the phone stable and then they click the phone and then they move it away right away like a normal photo. But they forget that the camera of the phone is now not taking just one photo, it's taking multiple photos to combine all of them. So the computer of the camera, like the processor of the camera, requires a bit more time to click the photo in order to process it. And that's why whenever you're using HDR on your phone, make sure you hold the phone stable for at least 2 seconds after clicking the photo in order for the photo to process perfectly without having that blur or shakiness in the photo. Now for the next tip is for all those people who actually click small objects a lot, or like macro photographers who click amazing pictures of small objects from their mobile phone's camera. However, it's sometimes really annoying when the phone's camera is not focusing, since the object or the subject, I would say, is very small. And in that way, Pro mode can actually save your irritation. So what you have to do is switch back to Pro mode, and then you can see the option to control the focal length. And with that, keep it minimum, and then in that way your phone's camera will not be changing the focal length and it will be shifted to the minimum focal distance, which is the best way to click a photo which is nearby to your lens. And that way you can still click amazing pictures without having to worry about the focal length being changed by the camera. So the last and the final rule is actually gonna make your photos look even more interesting, and it's coming from the rule of photography. And this rule is called a rule of third. And what you have to do is go to your phone's camera and turn the grid line option on. And this grid line will actually gonna divide the photo into 9 squares. And once you have that, all you have to do is try to keep the subject of your photo in the intersection of these lines. And once you do that, your photo, you will see that the subject is no longer kept in the center of the photo's frame, which is why it's gonna look even more interesting since it's following a rule. And that is why if you see photos from a lot of photographers which are professionally trained, they try not to keep the photo's subject at the center of the frame, but rather at the intersection of these lines, because that just enhances the way that your eye looks at it and makes it even more appealing. So that was all for this video, and I hope you really enjoyed watching it. If you're new to my channel, by the way, a sub would be highly appreciated. And if you enjoyed watching this, press the like button. If you did learn something new, let me know in the comment section below. And if you click any photos using these tips, don't forget to tag me on Instagram. And with that said, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.